Jam nitty gritty, you're listening to the boy from the big bad city. This is Jam High. This is Jam High.
Welcome to Who's Hot with your host, Wil Chung.
Greetings everyone. Sorry I'm jumping on this because this is a Who's Hot podcast, but I just wanted to jump on and first of all say this is a rushed episode. Yeah, it's a very rushed episode. This was recorded literally less than 48 hours before this is going out. We had some technical difficulties, so there was lots of technical difficulties with the recording. However, we have got the best we can get at this moment in time. So there are a couple of gaps in here. You might see it jump from one sentence to another. It happens about 5 or 6 times throughout the whole podcast. I do apologise for that. There was some major technical issues in terms of broadband width that our team were using. Yeah, so that's the best I can tell you. But anyway, it's a great podcast. I've listened to it. I've edited it, got it all to a good level for you guys. I hope you will enjoy it. If you're heading down to OCR Games this weekend, then have fun. It sounds like an amazing event. Thanks for listening. Over to Wil and team.
Hello, and thank you for downloading the latest UKOCR Who's Hot podcast. My name is Wil Chung. I am the host of Who's Hot, and this is a bonus episode for all you listeners out there. We're here to preview the OCR Games from Rumble Fitness. As always, I've got my 2 OCR Elite races, my 2 co-hosts. Start with you, Chris. Chris, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm not so bad, Wil. How are you?
Well, after all this mess up, I think we're almost there. Becky, it only seems 5 minutes since I saw you last. How are you doing?
Yes, enjoyed our lap round Tough Mudder. Thank you, Wil. I'm very excited to hear about the OCR Games and all the athletes going.
Yes, well, of course, we wouldn't be having this preview without our very special guest, Dave Peters. Dave, hello, welcome, and thank you to preview OCR Games.
Hello, mate. Thanks for bringing me on. It's great to be on. I like talking about it. I like talking about myself even more.
It is our pleasure. Thank you for joining. And we won't be talking too much about you, unfortunately, Dave, but mostly about OCR Games and what a lineup we've got. We'll come back to that. So for everybody, OCR Games, which is coming to Rumble Fitness, it's this Sunday, the 20th of August. Dave, tell us very quickly the quick concept of what OCR Games is all about.
Yeah, so basically we wanted to create an event that kind of looks into all of the different parts of obstacle course racing and try to take all of those speciality areas and create an event which give every athlete an opportunity to kind of excel in their specialist area and then pull that together in a race. So basically the athletes all take part in 4 events, one being endurance, one being strength, one being speed, one being technical. They earn points from those events and then they'll pull all those points together, which will give them a head start in a race at the end, and it's a race to the finish line for the win overall. So it's a full day event, yeah, it's gonna be a head to head. It's gonna be good.
So 4 events and culminating into the race at the end. Those 4, if you kind of win those events in your heat, you're getting a certain amount of points, and then those points equals extra seconds for your head start. Is that how we win? And then that race at the end, basically first past the post.
Yeah, so that's essentially it. So there's a bigger points difference awarded for the top 5 positions in each of the technical areas, in each of the single events. Those points, are added together, and those points will all add up to effectively, seconds as regards to a staggered start, if you like. So the person with the highest score will head out first, and then it will be a staggered start behind that, depending on how many points behind the other athletes were. And then, it's a race to the finish line to see who wins.
And how far is that final race-ish, are you allowed to say?
Yeah, so roughly, we've shortened it down a little bit. So it's going to be somewhere between, it's probably around 4 miles now, 3 to 4 miles at the end. Last year was a bit longer. We did it closer to 6 miles last year, but this year it's probably closer. It's around 4. I can't give you too much information. It could be slightly longer, but it's shorter than it was last year on the final race. But there's good reason for that. So yeah.
All right. We'll come back to that towards the end of the podcast. So 4 sections, and I've seen the competitors. But do you want to go through those 4 sections and kind of what might be in there? Of course, this is the second OCR game, so fewer surprises, I guess, than last year when it was completely new. But I'm sure you're still going to be holding a few things back. So let's go through 4 of those 4 different sections.
Yeah. So the biggest change, the first change that we've made is we've moved our endurance event to a first event. So the endurance event is our first event this year, which means that every athlete will start at the same time. They will all go head to head from the very beginning. So effectively how it works is it's a devil takes the hindmost style race. So everybody will run out as a pack. You'll have a pace runner who will take everybody out nice and slowly for a minimum of 2 laps. So everyone will put a mile under their belt on the run. And then there'll be, after that point, you'll lose X amount of people per lap. So in the men's division, there's 3 eliminated each lap. And in the female division, it's 2 eliminated each lap, all the way down until we get down to the final 4 for the men and the final 3 for the women. And that last lap will be a straight out shootout for the final 4 places and the final 3 places in the women's race. So effectively, each lap will drop those runners. And it's in reverse order is how they will be scored. So as they're eliminated, they will score in that order, if that makes sense. All the men will compete at the same time, all the women will compete at the same time. Exactly the same as we did last year, exactly the same runs as we did last year. The winner will run, it'll be around about 10K. If you're planning on winning that race, you'll have put 10K under your belt. It's hilly, so there's it's got elevation involved in it. And this year we've included obstacles on the run as well. So there's mandatory completion of obstacles. Nothing too crazy difficult, nothing failable, so to speak. But it will take more energy and it will slow runners down, and it will also, if there's an obstacle failure where someone has to repeat an obstacle before they can continue, that could easily mess around with the order and the tactics of the day as well.
So those mandatory obstacles sound almost like they could be failed. Are they like hard mandatory obstacles?
Then they're not hard.
Tiring?
They're simple. There's no rigs.
Wow.
There's no rigs or anything. So it's more about moving over. So think more along the lines of crawl, balance, vault, that kind of stuff. But it's the type of thing that, so for example, if balance was one of them, then obviously everyone's capable of doing a balance beam. It's just how many times does it take you to get across it? It's that kind of obstacle. So everybody will be able to do all of the obstacles, but it will be potentially, it could ruin your lap, or make you have to work a lot harder than you planned on doing so.
Yeah, that changes the dynamics a bit, doesn't it?
Good to practice one attempt only, though.
Yeah, absolutely. That's it. Well, we know that this event it's an important event from our perspective to see all these different styles, but we also were very aware of the fact that we're a training center and that a lot of people use our events as prep for competitions. We've also got the World Champs coming up. We've got the series races coming up. So we still like to hold true to being training events, and that we're trying to train and help people, give them the experience of certain things that they're going to come across in their larger racing scene, if you like.
It already sounds pretty evil, because if you're starting with this, and let's say people are doing between 5 and 10K, they're already tired before going into the next 3 sections. So everyone's already compromised. Chris, very, very quickly going over to you. Do you think there's going to be any sort of strategy now involved that actually people might drop out a bit earlier, maybe to save some energy, or do you think everyone's just going to go for it and just keep?
Yeah, well, I think there'll definitely be some strategies in this, because if you haven't come prepared for this competition with a bit of strategy, you're a bit stupid, really. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
All right.
One thing I'll add, Will, on strategy from last year, you know, we've got last year as an example. So last year some people took it tactically, and I think you're going to see some people try similar things and see what worked well for some athletes last year. But also that you're going to find a difference on the fact that it's first. I think last year it was a 4th event, which meant that everybody was fatigued going in. And therefore this year, I think being first, everyone's on fresh legs, everyone has the same opportunity. So it's going to be interesting to see if there is that tactical difference. I'm fully expecting to see the big changes.
Yeah, and some people are definitely going to not think about it and go out a bit too hard, forgetting that it's an endurance event, I'd imagine. So
yeah, absolutely.
Becky, you were going to say something before I rudely interrupted?
We did see some strategies last year. I think the winners of the endurance event went out ahead of the others, and then stayed ahead because it was once you kind of settle into a pace, sometimes everyone actually settles in, much like in a long OCR race. People end up running at the same pace. You just happen to be at a set distance apart already from the pace that you started. And that worked last year, but that's been and done now. It won't necessarily work this time, especially if you're finishing with, depending on how many people you're taking out each lap and things. Is it 16 women in the start list? And yeah, some of them might decide this is not my event, and a chunk of them get taken out pretty soon, and then you end up running in a pack for quite a long time. And like you see in cycling, that pack can just hunt you down pretty quick. But with the addition of more obstacles, running in a pack might mean it's harder. People get in the way. So I think we're just going to have to roll with it and see what happens.
There's also another change as well, Becky, which is that we've removed the option to withdraw yourself at the end of a lap. So
you have to try.
It's now mandatory that if you cross the line, the only way of stopping will be to be eliminated. So if you was to sprint up in a pack of 5, for example, the last 5 and 3 are eliminated, 5 of you crossed the line. Last year we almost had it like it was a race where 5 people would race to the line and then all 5 would stop, but they would have been just ranked in the 5 order that they finished. Whereas this year, if that happens, 3 of them will be eliminated, and then 2 will be told they need to complete the next lap in order to be ranked. And if they don't do that, then they'll be moved down the list by 3 places. So it's not going to be a case of being able to stop at the end of a sprint across the line and then think, right, great, I can just withdraw now. They have to complete the last lap that they're on. So there is the only way out is to be eliminated.
That's evil. Especially on the first event. Yeah, well thought about that, Dave. Yeah, you're quite sadistic, really, aren't you? I can see everyone just running on that last lap like we did last year, trying to put everything into getting that position, and then being told you still got to go around for another hell lap. Yeah, nice. Yeah. But that's going to take some tactics as well, I think.
Yeah, because if you do race to the line, you've got another half to do at least. So it's whether you want to save that lap or whether you really want that position. So it's going to add another dimension to it.
It's good as well. Go on, Becky.
With no points on the board, like everyone is on the same level. Like sometimes people think, oh, I'm quite safe, already got all these points, or people don't care because they're not in the mix. So at that stage, everyone's got a clean slate, so that people could want it more.
And it changes the dynamics of the good runners as well. They're not going to think, oh, this is my event, it's going to give me the opportunity to make some points. They've got to kind of think about it a little bit more, and gives the non sort of faster runners a bit more of an opportunity to gain some points on an event that not necessarily would be their event. So
going to have some interesting psychology. Like a lot of the people on the start list have really, really good perseverance and determination, and like a lot of ultra runners as well included on there, the OCR ultra people who have done a lot of laps of whatever races. So it'll be interesting to see whether they tap into that part of their brains and whether that's beneficial for this event, but is it beneficial for the whole event? If that final 5th event is also going to be up to 10k, then it could be too much. Who knows?
Gotta pack your sandwiches.
So that's endurance, and you've already killed them off, Dave, but we've still got 3 other sections to go. Tell me a little bit about strength.
Yeah, so strength this year, we wanted to tap in. So we found last year that the strength event still favoured maybe a little bit too heavily on the cardiovascular element to it. Even though there were heavy carries for a long period of time, it was probably still too favoured to the cardio side. So what we wanted to do this year was give an opportunity for both kind of strength elements from the sport to be given an opportunity to excel from. So what we've done is we've created a 10-minute event whereby every athlete will be given a 10-minute time cap to work in. They'll carry rec bags over a set distance and set terrain as many times as they feel they can within their 10-minute time period. Those rec bag carries act as a multiplier. And then whenever they choose to stop doing their carries, they can then do a dead hang from a bar. The time that they dead hang for will then be multiplied by however many carries that they've done. So if somebody did five carries and then 5 minutes of dead hanging, then they would score 25. So every second on the bar counts. They're only allowed to hang once. They're not allowed to drop from the bar. You can re-grip on the bar, but you're not allowed to drop off of it and touch the floor. Once you've touched the ground, that's it. That's your time over. So it's all about strength of carrying, but also grip strength and endurance on hanging. So If you're good with your with grip strength, but not necessarily a big carrier, then you would probably do less multipliers and more time on the bar. If you back yourself carrying, you would do more with multipliers and then less time on the bar. But once you're up on the bar, your hang time starts, and then once you drop from that bar, that's your hang time over, and it will be whoever scores the largest score once the multipliers have been taken into account with their time that they scored.
Do you think people will do well at estimating their capacity in 10 minutes, or do you think people finish on 8 minutes and stuff?
I think you will do very, very well to last the 10 minutes.
Yeah.
The only way you're going to last the 10 minutes, I think, is if you kind of go for a shorter hang and just try and blitz through some multipliers to try and get yourself a score that way. The reality is, I think if you want to score well, you need to be working for the 10 minutes. So if you get on that bar too early, then you're probably in trouble. So you've got to know how long you can hang for sure. But obviously it's difficult to know how long you can hang for when you don't know how tired you're going to be. So it's going to be interesting. You're going to see some people are going to do loads of carries and hardly any time, and I think you're going to see some people just hang for a long time. I've tested it a couple of times in on centre, and we've had very different results with different strategies. So yeah, I won't give out too much in terms of what the scores are like, but yeah, it's been different.
So let me get this right, Dave. So you get the rec bag, you got like a run with it, and then you come back, and then you do a dead hang, then you drop down.
Basically, yeah.
And then you drop down, and then you do another rec bag. No,
so all of your carries are done in one hit.
Yeah.
So you carry for as long as you want in your 10 minutes, but once you stop that, that's your multipliers over, and then you're hanging. So your hang is dependent on however late you decide to leave it. We did toy with the idea of doing, like, once you drop off the bar, if you can't hang anymore, but we did toy with being able to do more carries, but then we felt it kind of came away from the real grit and fatiguing element of having to hang on. So we decided not to do that. So we've stuck with one. That's
annoying, because that's what I tried doing. I tested that, so that's a pain in the ass. But when I tested that, it was really difficult to after doing a carry. It's not easy hanging off a bar. Yeah, it's really difficult.
It's a scaffold bar as well, Chris. So as you'll know, it's not an easy grip for everybody.
It's got a bit of girth to it, isn't it? So
yeah,
your favorite kind of grips?
They're not. It's too much of them. No, it is difficult to hold on to a scaffold bar. It's a lot harder, I think.
Yeah, we are allowing re-gripping and one arm hang and hip touch down to the other hands and stuff. You can shuffle around a little bit, and you can change the grip from overhand to underhand, etc. But there's no touching the ground. Once you touch down, that's it.
No chicken wing in like on physical 100.
No, none of that. It's in the hands and that's it.
Yeah, sometimes I find it difficult to hang because I'm breathing too hard. Do you know what I mean? Like, rather than your forearms, it's your ribs that are moving, and it's like pulling my lats off.
Well, that's what it was when I did the test. Once it was doing that run with, especially if you're trying to run quite quickly with the sandbag. And then I did basically 100 meters and then back onto a dead hang, 100 meters back onto a dead hang. And each time jumping on that bar was so difficult on the breathing. So, yeah.
So, Dave, within our 10 minutes, we would be allowed to pause between, as soon as we finish our carries, we could actually choose to take some time to rest.
Yeah.
To then maximize our hang. And that's okay, as long as, we stop at 10 minutes.
That's a good tactic. I like that, Becky.
Yeah. So
and we can put down the rec bag.
Yep.
During the carries. Yep.
Yep. So you can literally do as many lengths as you want with the bag. You can stop with the bag as much as you need to. You can carry it however you like, as long as it's within reason. It has to be carried. It can't be tied on, etc., etc. But yeah, we're not forcing the way to carry it. It can go on your shoulders, in front of you, on your back, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, last year you forced us to carry in front. That was so hard.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. So no, we're not doing that this year. So we're good. The only difference is probably that our junior athletes will be carrying a slightly lighter bag, but that's about it.
Same for males and females?
Yes, it will be the same.
Okay. No idea who's going to win.
That's an interesting one. Okay, speed.
Yeah, so speed is probably the most similar to last year. It's a straight out time trial. Small element of running, lots of obstacles, but probably the biggest difference is it's very fast-based obstacles. So we're talking vaults, walls, crawl, jump, things that are very, very quick. Agility is going to be really important. We've shortened it compared to last year, so it's going to be faster. We wanted to get away from that cardio element again, where we stopped seeing people pushing hard for speed because they're too out of breath. So we wanted to keep it short and sweet. So this is faster than it was last year. It's simpler than it was last year. There's probably one obstacle on the speed leg, which is kind of got a little bit of sort of grip and technical element to it. But the majority is very quick, very fast, and very agility based. It's a straight time trial effectively. So it'll be the fastest times we'll be scoring the highest.
And the terrain, because last time I think it was about 4 minutes or so, we ended up doing a little bit on the grassy hill there out the back. Does that mean we're not on the grass, or
no? You still will have an element of running, but less of it. So there was last year we had like some switchbacks, and we worked on some double back on the distance as well. So this year it's think more along the lines of straight down, about halfway down and back up again, and then straight into obstacles. And there's obstacles on the run as well. So it's very quick.
What, road shoe quick or trail shoe quick?
It's not road shoe because of the terrain that we're on. It's very dry. Even though we've had a lot of rain, it's still very dry. Like with the way that with the land that we use, it drains very quickly. So it is still very dry, and it's very grassy. So it's still, I'd still say it's a mixed trail shoe sort of thing. Yes, it's not quite road shoe quick, but then when you say that, I know that people will be running road times on it because there's a big downhill, and I would expect to see some very fast runs for those confident downhill runners.
It's going to be interesting to see the difference between people like Morgan and Tommy on that.
Yeah,
that's going to be exciting.
Speed, the foot speed, and then Tommy is so fast through the obstacles.
Yeah,
and so Morgan. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Especially if it's a really
there's
short
also
event.
Well, that's it exactly. It's lots of fast-paced, high-energy obstacles that are very close together. There's no running between. Once you hit the proving grounds of where the obstacles are based on this course, it's literally one after another. It's very fast, very quick. So you will see that. You will see people catching people through the obstacles. We've also looked at how to simplify things. So what I've done with this year with a lot of the stuff is I want to keep the interest. I've created a few obstacles which will make people think differently, and it won't maybe feel like their normal rhythm in certain obstacles, but all of them are very, very doable. There's not crazy long rigs and stuff that are going to be really difficult for people to complete. I don't want to have too many people having to take penalties because the onus for me is on about the completion and the better racers being faster through it. So I want to see people completing as opposed to having to take penalties. So you'll see that reflected in this course in particular.
Yeah, it's nice that there'll be like slight differences, I guess, because you want it to be like your first attempt on this thing. How do you deal with it? How do you adapt to it? That's quite useful, I think, to train. Also it might minimize the kind of home advantage, I suppose. If you've got like things in different orders or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And we're quite conscious of that because this is as much a test for the Rumble guys as it is for anybody else, and we like the idea of it being as level as it can. I mean, home advantage exists. I don't believe in anyone who says it doesn't, but it does. So the Rumble guys certainly will have some form of advantage because they'll, gaps and heights and all this kind of stuff. But yeah, the method of how we're doing it and the direction that we're traveling is a lot more. It's a lot more unusual for people. So yeah, it's going to make a difference.
Cool.
And the final one, Dave, technical skill.
Yeah, so again, technical. So this year, our technical thing is still based on speed. So it'll be fastest completion effectively of what it will be there. But there's a second layer to the scoring. So what we really wanted to do this year, last year's technical event had lots of technical obstacles, but it probably came down to people's endurance over these obstacles, the grip endurance in particular, as opposed to maybe technical ability. So what we've decided this year is we've created a similar style to the course, but what we've done is we've made the emphasis on completion of those obstacles as opposed to how many. So it's not about grip endurance. So there are 6 obstacles that each athlete will have to attempt. They'll be given 6 minutes to complete the course. I'd expect people to do it in, some people will go through in probably 2 minutes. It's going to be fast. It's going to be very, we talked about the likes of Tommy, Morgan and going head to head over obstacles like that. You're going to see those sorts of challenges happening in this technical event. How it's scored, basically, there's 6 obstacles. Those athletes that score all 6, so they complete all 6, will all finish higher than anyone who scores 5, and then so on down the list. So anyone who completes 5 will score higher than 4, regardless of how long it takes them. So if it takes an athlete 5.5 minutes to complete 6, they will score higher than an athlete who completes 5 in 3 minutes. So the completion is the first way to score. The second thing will then be that those who all score 6 will then be speed against each other, and then so on down the leaderboard. So the emphasis is on the completion. The obstacles, you can expect to see a technical challenge. So something in all of these obstacles will require good technique in order to complete it. So you'll not just need to be strong in order to get through it. You will have to have good technique if you want to win. And it's, like I say, it's the emphasis on the completion. So 6 minutes, 6 obstacles, 6 minutes is the time cap. It's 1 attempt on the obstacle, so there's no retries, with the exception of what we have and are going to do is, if somebody fails an obstacle, they will be given the option within their time to restart the entire course. So if someone was to fall off of the 4th obstacle, they could then choose to restart, but their timer doesn't restart. So they could go back to the beginning of the course and now get all 6. However, all of the time it took for them to do those original 4 is still included in their time. So they will effectively be penalized for time, but they will have a second shot at doing it. But if they then failed to say something that they'd already passed before, they won't be allowed to retry again. So you will be given the option to restart once, but it will be with the clock still running, and it will be no more attempts after that. So if you fail something that you passed before, you've just messed it up for yourself effectively.
The decision making in that is tough, like when you're in the moment and it's hectic and every second feels like an hour. And you make that decision.
I could pretty much just throw my gameplay out the window right now. Everything I thought about doing for this event, is just chuck it away. It's all gone.
But that's it. You know what my events are like. I try and get into people's minds. I want them to have to make tough decisions. I want the strategy to be a big factor. I like psychology to be an influence in it as well. So all of that will definitely come into play on this event.
Yeah, looking forward to that one. That sounds really interesting.
There will be some obstacles that people won't have seen before as well, and it will be it will be a challenge.
Sounds fantastic. Are we going to have any filming? Are people going to be able to watch each other do it? What do you reckon?
So in terms of footage we will probably, I can't guarantee this, but we will probably release video of all the courses and the items on course prior to the event, but that may only be on Saturday. So
not in time to go to Rumble on a Thursday evening.
No one. So Thursday, so that's a good point. So Thursday training, for example, there's none. Most of the rigs won't be set up anyway. Most of the stuff isn't set up, and anything that has been banned. It's been taken out of action. So nobody would have touched the course. The whole point of this event for us is that no one will have touched a single obstacle on the course in its format before the event has taken place. So it will literally be everyone will touch the obstacles for the first time when they compete.
Cool.
Ain't that the truth? I've got a couple of spies over there, and they haven't been able to see anything.
No, I mean, it's to the point where even my instructing team don't know it. The only person who knows the course at the moment is me.
So powerful, dude.
Building my own ego again.
So we've got the 4 different events, then you go into the race. And I noticed, and we'll talk about the participants in a few minutes, but you split people into different heats because, of course, you can't get everyone to do all of the things all of the time. So when everyone's done the event number 2, because everyone knows what event number 1 or event number 3, is there going to be a scoreboard so you can kind of see how people are scoring, even though they're doing a different they're doing the different event at that point, so it may not be equal anyway, but are you able to kind of keep count of maybe who you think you're going to be competing against?
Yeah, so the plan is similar to last year, is to try and have a leaderboard which is running live as the day goes through, so that people get some idea as to where they're at. By the end of the sort of second, third event, they'll have some idea as the leaderboard's shaping up. Obviously, there's a bit of difference in some of the orders of some of the events, and that will come into play. But then there's advantages in one way and disadvantages in another, right? So yeah, but the intention is to have a leaderboard running live so that everybody can see the scoreboard, see where they're at, see how people have scored on certain events, and maybe get some idea of maybe how to attempt to do it, or what scores they need to go against. But obviously that's only going to be, you're only going to be able to look against other people's scores after the first two events anyway, right? So if you're going to use other people's sort of scoring as a guide, you're only going to be able to do that for 2 out of the 4 anyway. So it will be, it'll be interesting to see how we get on. But yeah, the intention is to have it live leaderboard. So yeah.
Do we still get our Joker card things, Dave?
Yeah, so we are still running the Joker. So the Joker will be a card that every single athlete will be able to play once. They will have to play it before the event starts for their heat. And those jokers will double their athletes' points. So again, if there's a weakness that they want to minimize the impact of that, then they may choose to play it on an event where they think they may struggle, which will mean that might minimize the points difference. And then similarly, if they feel that they've got a good chance on an event of doing well, they might choose to play it on that event and therefore double the chances of their higher score. So it's completely up to the athlete when they play it. They have to play it obviously on the in the first 4 events. It obviously can't be played in the race. It wouldn't do you any good. But yeah, we are still running with a Joker card yet, so that will play.
Interesting. All right, let's about the participants, because that's what everyone likes to listen for. Very quickly go over last year's top 5. So I've just got it in front of me here. In the women's race, top 5: Lou Ferriman, Libby Joyce, Pip Rainbow, our very own Becky Neal, and Ellie Brimcombe in top 5. In the men, Morgan Maxwell, James Burton, Dasa Scanella, our very own Chris Shipley, and Scotty Barker. I am just going to get over. So let's go over to the females first, and I've got the list here. Before we go through, so I've got here Josie Lloyd, Charlotte Duhaney, Chol, Imi Hales, Becky Neal, Tamar Barkley, Shirley Pace, Ellie Birmingham, Shelley Tompkins, Helen Gilmore, Pip Rainbow, Lee Ferran, Rachel Brown, Julie Botwood, Kate Stillwell, Emma Kirkwood, and Libby Joyce. Again, really, really stacked. Becky, let's start with you. How does that look? There's some names missing, of course, but that's a stacked race in any form of OCR race. This is stacked.
Totally stacked. And you think, oh yeah, I can think of top 3, top 5, and then suddenly you read another name and it's like, oh my God, I don't know. Especially when, some of those names have real strengths that are really clear, and then others are really good all-rounders, and you just don't know how, will actually the all-rounders come out on top if they're like a really good all-rounder. Obviously that's like basically what OCR is about, but then if there's someone who's excellent in one of those things, and ultimately somebody will win each of those, and if they play their Joker right, that could give them enough advantage to kind of take the podium. So like looking through that list there, like I think Josie's gonna have a great shot with the endurance, but then you've got to think about Lou Ferriman and Kate Stillwell, and then you can't count out someone like Ellie Brimcombe, or even Emma Kirkwood. Like, she's great at running, and like she keeps going all day and stuff as well. Done lots of long races. And then like Pip as well, lots of running. So yeah, like you think you've got somebody, and then there's just another 5 waiting in the wings, which is really exciting. In terms of the more technical events, again, like I think the question here, like there's a lot of strong technical races. So I won't doubt that multiple people will have those 6 clear obstacles. So it will come down a bit to speed. For example, somebody like Imi Hales will be excellent at those obstacles, but she's quite often used to doing that in a ninja world where sometimes you don't have to have as much speed, but obviously she's been doing more and more racing and is beating everyone at 3Ks, 5Ks these days. So perhaps she will suddenly have that speed, but it's a new venue for her, I suppose. So maybe she won't have so much, speed, such as like someone like Pip and Lou. So, I just don't know. And Shyla's been training there as well lots recently, so she's come a long way. Tamar, of course, is excellent at carries, but then so is Lou, and so is Julie, and so is even Imi is really like, she would choose carries all day long. And then Josie has a history of Spartan race, and then we got Kate Stillwell and the carries as well. It's so difficult. I think the speed is probably the hardest thing to guess in the women's race. I think there are some real speedsters in the men's competition, but I think this one's probably the most open event, the speed rounds. So that'll be kind of an exciting one to watch, and maybe somewhere to play a joker card if you think you don't have a clear shot somewhere else. But then if everybody's playing a joker card, then it becomes less valuable. So it's hard to tell, especially with the people in different heats doing things in different order. Is it more advantageous to have the strength thing near the beginning so you can really maximize that hang time, or is it better to have at the end where you just have to hang on for whatever you have left? I don't know. There's so much to consider. But yeah, we've got Charlie Jewell in there as well, and Shirley Pace. Be good to go head to head with those ladies. And Shelley, oh my goodness, Shelley and Helene training there all the time as well. Excellent on the obstacles. So I don't know. I don't know who to pick.
Chris, let's put Becky out of her misery for a moment. What are you thinking about this female contingent?
I think they're all dynamite. Yeah, I like Becky said, it's really hard to choose who's going to be on top. With every sort of event, it's going to be getting them individual points, and getting them individual points is going to be what's really difficult. But everyone needs to remember that it is an endurance event. That it is a long day, this event, and I think some of the people who are quick and not quite used to doing the endurance things might start to fade towards the end. But then there's people who have been racing a lot lately. A lot of people have been doing a lot of things. So it is just going to be so difficult to pick who's going to be on top.
Yeah, and saying that, Chris, last year when I did it, I went in with the lead. I had the most advantage with the seconds at the start, and I came fourth.
Yeah.
So like a lot can change in that final race, and I was knackered for various reasons, but like it can all change at the end there. So like you say, it is an endurance day, an event. So sometimes those strengths don't even matter at the end of the day. And it does come down to like obstacle course racing, which is
sometimes people don't realize that it's the time in between the events that is actually quite difficult as well. You've still got to sit down, wait for the next events to start, and if you're not prepared for that, getting back into like running form or obstacle form isn't the easiest thing in the world to do, because you've had that time down. So getting back into it, some people might struggle with that, just not because they're unfit or anything, just because they're not used to taking that downtime. Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Warm down, warm up, eat, drink. We were all so hot last year. It was like one of the hottest days of the year. I don't think we're in any danger of that, judging by this year. But yeah, we were exhausted.
One thing,
Dave, I don't want you to
go on. No, go on.
You go.
So I was just going to say one thing on the point that Chris has just made. Like, it is important that people factor it in. One, preparing themselves with fueling and hydration, and then not being on their feet too much. There's too many people that try and get around to see everything, and they don't realize how draining that is of just having time on your feet. What we've also done as well is we've got a really great sponsor on board. So Enduro have come on board. So they're providing their products as well. So they're going to be on site as well, and they'll be able to help with some great fueling as well. So that all of these things are important, that people factor that in, and not just from a racing perspective, but just from a point of view of feeling like they can walk away at the end of the day knowing that they've given everything they can, and it wasn't a fueling thing that was the reason they couldn't compete.
Yeah, and if anyone's never been to Rumble before, there are no shops nearby. Do not make that mistake, because I've made that mistake going there before. There's nothing. There's a pub down the road if you want a pint, but there's no food. Oh no, they do food, don't they? But I don't think you want to eat a burger before doing some of these events. So
Guinness be a bit there, better nutrition in there. Right? Dave, I don't want you to pick top 5 there, but any of those female names that you think you would just like to maybe give a shout out to?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to sort of pull out names as such in terms of a list, but I mean the list is stacked. I don't think I need to pin out. Like, we've just talked through the whole list, and I think everybody has a strength somewhere where they can bank on themselves, pushing themselves pretty hard, doing pretty well. What I will say is that there is going to be an element of if it's the first time at Rumble, I think that makes a difference. I think those people that know what our facility is like and how we do things and how technical we can be and what we can put people to come across, that's I definitely think it's going to be an advantage to have been before. Not necessarily have to be in Rumble member, but if you've been to our centre on a regular basis, then seen it and taken part in other events, that's going to play a factor. And I do expect that to be a factor when it comes to the top 5. To try and pick it, I think the experience is key. I think those that did OCR games last year will also hold an advantage as well. So I think those that are coming for the first time, there are some really good names on that list, and I'm excited to see what they can do as well. And I expect to see the good performances from them. And so by no means would I write any of those people off on my list. But I would say, Lou is reigning champion. She's reigning champion for a reason. She knows the facility well. She knows the obstacles well. She's got good with her endurance. She knows how to fuel herself. She knows how to stay mobile in between events. I think there are many that I could pull out from Team Rumble. There are some great racing names on there. I'm really excited to see how they sort of come against our facility. So those that haven't been before. So I'm excited to watch Josie come. I'm excited to have some of the other guys as well who are kind of stepping up their racing, and they're coming out of maybe putting themselves in age group races and starting to step into that elite field, because this is a prime example of an opportunity for them to do that. So yeah, while I couldn't necessarily pin down too many other names, I think everybody on that list can legitimately score well and put himself in a good position to race hard at the end of the day, and it is going to come down to that endurance.
Brilliant, thank you. So let's go over to the men's list. David Tucker, Morgan Maxwell, Ollie Addy, Jason Wright, Chris Shipley, Carver, Alex Young, Ramunis Wickus, Sven Ibbotson, Scott Barker, Dascanella, Connor Wickens, Jack Carpenter, Leo Brimickham, Matt Roberts, Michael Culver, Jason Molan, Tommy Matthews, Finley Greenleaf, Luke Benedictus, Russell Walsh, Gavin Hogarth, Paul Peacegood, Chris O'Holm, Eddie Lambert. Oh my God, we've just talked about how stacked the female lineup is, but that male lineup is just unbelievable. Chris, let's start with you. You've been competing against all of these all season so far. It's really hard to pick out, but I'll let you go for it.
What, to try and pick? You're never going to pick anyway. You can pick the winner out of this lineup. I mean, if it was a straight up race of different elements, you might be able to pick it. But because every one of these races has individual abilities that will put them on the top of certain events, it's just going to change all the time. I think the leaderboard after certain events will just be back and forth. And then when you get to the final event, whoever's got a lead, I don't think it's going to be a huge enough lead to put down much of it. I mean, you couldn't even pick the top 10 legitimately. It's such a stacked field and everyone's just on top. If some people are a bit tired from racing a lot lately, maybe they'll be a little bit slack, but I don't think anyone's that tired this time of the year. Dave has organised it so well at the moment. He's not put it on the same weekend as other races. He's put it at a really good time. He's thought about that. Yeah. But do you want me to pick who I think? I mean, I couldn't pick who it is, but
pick out a few names, mate. Maybe not your top 3. Even though that's why you're on this bloody show.
I know. I tell you, one person I'm really, really looking forward to seeing is Tommy Matthews come out. He's the ninja guy. The way he flows through obstacles is superb. It's so beautiful. He's so dynamic. Whether or not that makes him a strong contender for this event, because being dynamic is not always the best way to tackle an endurance event, but it's going to be really exciting to see him racing it. David Tucker, he doesn't usually do a lot of races, but he's definitely one who knows Rumble like the back of his hand, and I'm pretty sure he's probably been in Dave's head a few times, so he's going to be one to watch. Maybe not so much on the long distance stuff, but he's going to be on it. It's good to see Zach Harper up here, because he's got a hand injury and he's going to be back. He was training with me the other day, looking really, really strong on obstacles. Morgan Maxwell, probably going to be the favourite of the event, being the home crowd. And then you've got Leo Brimcombe. He did his Tough Mudders long one a couple of months ago. He's good on obstacles. It's going to be really good. And Finley, if you're going to be looking out for any of the youngsters this opportunity, Finley is coming into his own. Watching him the other week at where was I? Beach Ballistics. Seeing the way that boy has improved is unbelievable. And then you're going to be seeing him on individual elements of obstacle racing that's just going to show a different class. And I think he's going to do really well.
He did really well at Danish championships, didn't he?
Oh, yeah.
Won
his age. Well, yeah.
which was 18 to 39 or something. So it wasn't even, kind of a small group. I was watching some of that coverage. Chris, one person we don't see is your fellow Accountability Corner host, Darren Martin, who beat you. Is he running scared
He's
now?
terrified.
Now he beat
Yeah.
you at Beach
He
Ballistic?
he messaged me the other day and he said, I'm pulling out. I can't bear to race you. You're too good. Your arms are too big, he told me. He said my arms are so big that he just can't handle it. He says that I'm too good looking as well, and he can't bear to be in the same place as me. So he's running scared. Yeah.
Yeah, so
No, he can't make it. He's actually down to a hen do because he's a lady.
Sure.
Becky, any thoughts on this men's race? This is
Yeah, I think last year's top 5 I think will still be in the mix. Those names are pretty solid names, and I think that they have really good all-round capability. And when it comes down to that final race, that will kind of come through. I think it'd be nice for Ollie to race with Finley. Those two, especially with the likes of Tommy on the speed event, will be really exciting to watch. Like, there's going to be some fast movers for that event, so it's going to be, even if people don't win overall, I think there's going to be some excellent performances in the individual events to watch out for as well. But yeah, and I think it would be nice to have Russell Walsh come down, and Gavin Hogarth as well. So it'd be good to see them like in the mix with these people on something like kind of more technical as well. And Jack Carpenter, we haven't seen him race much recently, I feel like, apart from at Euros. So good to have him back.
Just had a baby as well, hasn't he? Congratulations to him. So yeah, fair play.
Nice. Yeah, so who knows what happened? Alex Young always seems to pull it out of the bag as well. Like, he's good at carrying, he's pretty good at, really fast at rigs as well, and can just work hard. So it'll be good to see how he fits in.
Yeah, he's been training super hard this year. It's real tasty.
Who knows?
Dave, over to you again. Not expecting you to pick out your top 3, but you want to shout out any of this lineup? I mean, we could always do the whole lot, and any of them could be top 5 definitely. But yeah, over to you.
Yeah, I mean, I've written down like a few times on my sort of mind, if you like. I've written down a few times different top 10s, and I've come up with different top 10s 3 different times now. Legitimately, I think it's so competitive. It's going to really come down to on the day and how people manage the day. I agree with Becky. I think those that were in the mix last year in that top 5, I think they were there for a reason, and I think they're going to carry that same experience through into this year's event. I think there's a few that people maybe sleep on. I think someone like Ryan Ibbotson could go really well. He's a really strong contender. He's a great runner. His obstacle ability is always up there. He's not going to be. I don't think he's got a weak event when it comes across we talk about all rounders. He's certainly one of the better all rounders, I would suggest, as opposed to having a specialism in any of those areas. And he's fit. He's looking strong. So I imagine him to go well. I think Morgan is obviously going to go well, but I agree David's technique and agility and speed across obstacles is something that people won't have seen before. I think you'll see improvements from other people, and you'll see people pull it out of the bag. For me, I would have been really interested to see where Gavin would have placed last year if he didn't have to withdraw from the race injured. I think he had a really, really strong chance of winning. I'm not sure if he's been able to get as much training in this year as much as he would have hoped for, but I certainly would say that his experience and his ability to continue over an entire day usually would definitely play to an advantage. And I'm excited to see him, and I'm also excited to see how Russell goes. In particular, when you start looking at the endurance event, it's going to be the first time these guys have all run with each other, and it's going to be interesting to see what the jostling looks like on that first event, because I think the first event will tell us a lot about what sort of condition people are in, and also what kind of mindset they're in with regards to how hard they're willing to work because that endurance event is going to be close. There's a lot of good runners there, and I think you're going to have to work really hard if you want to score well. And if you don't score well, I think you can easily see yourself dropping down the pecking order quite quickly. The one thing I would say is that last year, when you had one person sort of randomly jump into the leaderboard, maybe where you wouldn't predicted, it would have just bumped you down 1 or 2 spaces. This year, you're going to see people perform well in individual events where it's going to knock you down the table 4, 5, 6, 7 places without you even realizing. Expect to see people like Finley do really well on the strength event. You know, we know that Finley can hang all day long. So we know that he's got a good time on that bar. So it's just a case of how big's his multiplier. David Tucker is particularly good at hanging. So, you know, these sort of people, last year we might have had 1-2 persons maybe disrupt what you would predict as your pecking order. Whereas this year it's going to happen. We know Tommy's got good grip. We know that Ramirez has got grip. You know, these people are going to change the leaderboard, and you're going to see mistakes happening on that technical event. Someone's going to decide to restart their event, and they've just added 3 or 4 minutes to their time. And then if they don't get the obstacle that they failed, it was a pointless time to start again. So things like that, the decisions people make and the strategy, that's going to make a difference. Again, I go to the thing, if they've been to Rumble before, they definitely will have some degree of an advantage. But similarly, I think you can easily sleep on people that maybe we don't see at Rumble as much. You know, Jack Carpenter is proven over a long period of years. I think Luke DeBen is going to step in with a bit more of a drive based on his performance last year. I think he did really well, and I think this year he's going to try and move that forward. And again, we've already mentioned the likes of Leo, Alex, you know, Matt, Connor, all these people that can pull it out the bag, especially when it comes to certain events. There's a few Spartan races in there, and that's going to come into its own on that strength event. You know, there's going to be some sort of messing up of the predicted list, if you like. You know, we all know that Ollie Addy, his ability on obstacles is ridiculous. So you're going to see some really good head-to-heads. I remember being at Tartan Warrior watching Ollie, Finley, Tommy all going head-to-head on that 100-meter course in the horrible conditions. Becky, you were there, you remember it, you know. And this, with any luck, will be quick, dry, strong conditions to see some really fast performances. So I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be exciting.
What is the weather forecast, Will? You're usually our weatherman, and that could have a big effect.
I will have a quick look whilst we're talking. Dave, thank you very much for that. Whilst I was looking at the weather, any last minute kind of hints, tips you want to give out to the racers?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is we've kind of already covered really is managing your day. I think if you want to go well at the end of the day, you have got to manage your day. It's too easy to get caught up. One thing I would say with us is we love to test people's mindset, psychology, the decision making. There's so much more behind it than the physical elements when you come to Rumble. It's very much going to be about mindset. If you want to go well, if you want to perform, you're going to have to really dig deep. You're going to be heading into some real tough battles with people, and you're going to have to kind of accept that. I think when it comes to the obstacles, you can expect to see some standard types of obstacles that you would normally see. You know, you're going to see a high rig. The high rig is going to be 12 meters long. There's a low rig. We have some new style obstacles that maybe people haven't touched before, maybe never even seen before. Yeah, I can't give too much, but it's going to be fast. It's going to be challenging. Prepare for a long day. Bring lots of fuel. Make sure that you're keeping yourself mobile. And yeah, bring your A game.
Yeah, it sounds really, really good, and also really good training. Like training something that you haven't seen before, training in a race scenario, training against other people who you're going to be neck and neck with, not like somebody running 200 meters ahead of you, like in a Spartan race kind of thing. And I think that's really good for all of these athletes going in preparation for the World Championships, including like working on their kind of mindset as well. So even if things don't kind of pan out in terms of the results for people this weekend, I think that will be really useful, and also a really useful way to kind of reflect on your own mindset before, during, and afterwards, like what Chris and you guys have been talking about on your podcast. So I think this is really good timing and good practice, and it maybe will become clear to some people. And I think it's good motivator to like get people to want to win. Like, we're going to go to the World Championship soon. Like, Dave, we've talked about this. Like, we want people to want to win. We want people to work as hard as they can and put themselves on the line and like give it everything got. Don't like protect your ego by being like, I wasn't really trying. Just gotta put it out there, and what happens. I think that's really good practice in preparation for like representing your country, which most of these people are going to be doing soon.
Well, it's Becky. So weather, starting from 9 o'clock, because you guys start about 9 o'clock, 18 degrees over us, and then at 4 o'clock it finishes around about 23 degrees. So basically hot, humid, just a little bit overcast, but it's going to be a great day of running and obstacles.
So bring a rain jacket then.
Wow, like in badminton last weekend. Brilliant. Dave, thank you very much for joining us. This has been the preview of the OCR Games with Dave Peters at Rumble Fitness. You can follow along on Instagram and Facebook, which is Rumble Fitness _UK. My thanks, as always, to my two co-hosts, my elite races. We've got Becky, and you can follow her at The Runner Bean UK. And of course, Chris Shipley, you can follow him at Obstacle Race Dude. This has been the preview of OCR Games. My name is Wil Chung, and thank you for listening, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.
See you later. Bye.
Hold me close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left.